The last time I've made the life of video was 8 months ago. I thought it would be cool to go back again and make one about a new character. Today is Ginny Weasley's time. While many Harry Potter characters went on extreme journeys during the 7 books, Ginny Weasley grew the most. Though she was never part of the trio, she was always very close to Harry, Ron and Hermione. From the little girl who was so desperately wanted to go to Hogwarts in the Philosopher's Stone, to the first dueller, an excellent Quidditch hero she became, Ginny really shone with every new page flipped. That's why in today's video I'll be explaining Ginny Weasley's entire life and how she was developed from being shy to a popular girl. Ginny Weasley was born on 11 August 1981 to Arthur and Molly. She was the first girl born into the Weasley family in a long time, the last of that generation after her 6 older brothers: Bill, Charlie, Percy, Fred, George and Ron. At that time, the wizarding community she grew up in was at the height of the First Wizarding War, during which her uncles Gideon and Fabian Prowett were murdered while fighting a group of Death Eaters. The war eventually ended for a time 2 months later. Ginny and her 6 older brothers grew up in the Barrow in Devon, England. Despite the majority of her brothers being keen Quidditch players, Ginny wasn't allowed to play with them when she was a child. When she was 6, she began a habit of breaking into the family broom shed and taking each of their brooms out on turn. She was never caught, and it only came to light 8 years later when Hermione revealed it to Fred and George. On every 1st September, Ginny accompanies her mother to King's Station to see off her brothers as they departed for Hogwarts. Despite being too young to attend the school, she still begs her mother to let her go with them. In the year 1989, while saying goodbye to her brothers, she found out that Harry Potter was on the train and tried to get her mother to let her go on the train to see him. As the train pulled out, she began to cry. After seeing Harry Potter at King's Station, Ginny developed feelings for him and talked about him all summer. When Harry arrived at the Barrow after being rescued from the Dursleys, she became extremely shy in his presence. Ginny's Hogwarts letter arrived days later. She traveled to Diagon Alley with her family to buy her school supplies, and her excitement at finally going to Hogwarts was ruined by the fact that due to the Weasleys' financial situation, she would have to make do with a lot of second-hand products, including her wraps and books. In Flourish and Blot, Harry, having been given a brand new set of collected works by Lockhart, gave them to her since he could afford a set of his own. With this act of kindness, Ginny finally spoke in front of Harry, standing up to Draco Malfoy when he started to insult him. Draco was with his father, Lucius, and the elder Malfoy took the opportunity to insult the Weasley family. He also managed to slip Tom Riddle's diary into Ginny's second-hand copy of A Beginner's Guide to Transfiguration. Ginny started at Hogwarts on 1st September and was sorted into Gryffindor house like all the Weasleys before her. She discovered Tom Riddle's diary and amongst her school things and began writing in it. To her amazement, the diary wrote back, and she started to confide in Tom Riddle's memory. Ginny became increasingly vulnerable to Tom Riddle's memory, which began to pour a little of his own soul back into her and slowly started to influence her. By 31 October, the memory of Tom Riddle was able to take full control of Ginny and used her to open the Chamber of Secrets, releasing the Basilisk, the Serpent of Slytherin, which then petrified August Filch's cat, Mrs. Norris, and put all the other students in great danger. Tom Riddle also forced her to write a threatened message on the wall. The Chamber of Secrets has been opened. Enemies of the air, beware. Ginny opened the Chamber of Secrets another 2 times. Ginny thought she was going mad. She woke up with rooster feathers on her wraps and couldn't remember where she had been at Halloween. The Basilisk's mortal weakness is the crowing of a rooster, and that's what Ginny was doing. She was killing the rooster at Hogwarts. We can see that in a deleted scene where Hagrid found a dead rooster. Ginny had started to become suspicious of the diary, and several weeks after Christmas attempted to get rid of it by throwing it down a toilet in Moaning Myrtle bathroom. Once free of the diary, Harry dropped his bag in front of her and the contents were dropped into the floor. Ginny saw that Harry now had the diary. Ginny was fearful that Harry would discover the fact that she might be responsible for the attack, so she waited until the boys' dormitory was empty. She then ransacked Harry's belongings to recover the diary. Retrieving it, Ginny was once more overcome by the memory of Tom Riddle and opened the chamber again, this time petrifying Hermione Granger. Ginny tried to tell Harry and Ron what was going on, but could not get the words out. The memory of Tom Riddle was furious. Realizing that Harry would come to save Ginny, he made her write a farewell on a corridor wall, then entered the Chamber of Secrets to die. And the last thing she remembered as she lay down on the floor was Tom coming out of the diary. Ginny woke up in the chamber to find that Harry had saved her and destroyed Riddle's diary. Ginny revealed what had happened to Harry and was sure she was going to be expelled from school. After leaving the chamber with the aid of the Phoenix Fox, Ginny was reunited with her parents in McGonagall's office office. Despite her fears, Dumbledore didn't place the blame on her, saying the older and wiser wizard had been possessed by Voldemort, and he sent her to the hospital wing to recover from her ordeal. Following this traumatic experience, Ginny returned to normal and was happy and relaxed for the rest of the school term. At the end of the school year, she traveled back to King Ross Station with her brothers, Harry and Hermione, on the Hogwarts Express. The next summer, Ginny traveled to Egypt with the rest of her family to visit her brother Bill, after her father won 700 gallons in the annual Daily Profit Prize. Ginny and her family stayed at the 𝐾𝐿 that night before setting off to start her second year at Hogwarts, and she met Harry again. She was even more embarrassed in front of him than usual. Later in the year, after Harry fell from his broomstick in a Quidditch match during a storm, Ginny visited him in the hospital wing. She had made him a get well card that sang when opened and presented it to him while blushing furiously. Ginny's second year ended in a better way than her first year. During the next summer, Ginny spent a lot of time with Hermione Granger, who was staying at the Barrow before and after the Quidditch World Cup. They shared Ginny's room and chanted the World Cup. Aware of her interest in Harry, Hermione advised Ginny to relax around him more and show him what she was really like. She even suggested that Ginny start going out with other available boys to mark time until Harry starts taking more notice and returns her feelings and becomes available. Ginny attended the Quidditch World Cup final with the majority of her family as well as Harry and Hermione. During the match, she was shown wearing a green hat in support of the Irish. Ginny returned to Hogwarts, which hosted the Triwizard Tournament that year. She rooted for Harry, the unexpected fourth champion, and maintained a good relationship with Hermione. Ginny was the only one that Hermione confided in when Viktor Krum asked her to the Yellow Ball. As a third year, Ginny was not allowed to attend the ball unless asked by an older student. Neville Longbottom asked her to go, and Ginny accepted since she was friends with him. At the ball on Christmas, she met Michael Corner and started dating him at the end of the year. With the news that Lord Voldemort had returned, Ginny's parents became active members of the Order of Phoenix. As a result, the family was relocated to the Order's headquarters at 12 Grimmauld Place that summer. Ginny stayed at the headquarters, sharing a room with Hermione, and helped her mother to clean the place to make it suitable base of operations. She learned the truth about Sirius Black and met Nymphadora Tonks, who acts like a big sister towards her and Hermione. Ginny returned to Hogwarts on 1st September with her brothers. During the train ride on the Hogwarts Express, Ginny introduced Harry and Neville to Luna Lovegood, a Ravenclaw in her year. With the arrival of new Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher, Dolores Umbridge, and a theory-based course, Harry, Ron, and Hermione decided to form a study group to teach practical defensive spells. She joined the group, bringing her boyfriend Michael with her and several other Ravenclaws. They all met in Hogshead. During the first official meeting of the group, she came up with the name of the group, Dumbledore's Army. During her time in Dumbledore's Army, Ginny's talent for defensive magic was shown, as she had swift reflexes with the disarming charm and considerable power, the latter of which highly impressed Harry. When Harry, along with Fred and George, received a lifelong Quidditch ban from Umbridge, Ginny tried out for the team and became the new Seeker. What should have been a happy time for Ginny was ruined by the attack on her father by Nagini just before Christmas. Along with her brothers and Harry, she was instantly sent to 12 Grimmauld Place by a portkey, relieved to find out he was alright. Ginny saw him the next day at St. Mungo's Hospital for magical maladies and injuries, and hugged him immediately. Returning to Hogwarts after Christmas, Ginny played her first game for the Gryffindor Quidditch team against Hufflepuff. Despite losing the match, Ginny captured the Golden Snitch. In May, Ginny played her second game of Quidditch for the Gryffindor team against Ravenclaw. She managed to capture the Golden Snitch, beating 𝐘𝐿 and securing the Quidditch Cup for Gryffindor. In the aftermath of the victory, Michael became very moody and sulked about the result. Because of his attitude, Ginny dumped him shortly after the match. When Harry had a vision of Sirius being tortured in the Department of Mysteries, Harry had to check to see if Sirius was at 12 Grimmauld Place. Ginny and Luna helped Harry and Hermione breaking into Umbridge's office. Ginny and Luna stopped people from entering the corridor leading to the office, but unfortunately for them, Umbridge caught them in her office. Hermione then later faked a breakdown and told a lie about a weapon that Albus Dumbledore had told him to make. She and Harry lured Umbridge into the Forbidden Forest. Ginny, Ron, Luna, and Neville managed to break free using skills that they had acquired in the Dumbledore's Army sessions. They then regrouped with Harry and Hermione, who had left Umbridge with a group of enraged centaurs. After flying distro to London, they entered the Ministry of Magic using the visitor entrance and headed for the Department of Mysteries. In the Hall of Prophecy, they found no sign of Sirius, but Ron did find a prophecy concerning Harry and Voldemort. As Harry removed it from the shelf, the group was surrounded by Death Eaters led by Lucius Malfoy. Ginny was threatened with the torture of Bellatrix Lestrange, who wanted to use the Cruciatus Curse on her to force Harry to hand over the prophecy. At Harry's signal, all 6 Dumbledore's army members fired redactor curses at the shelves to distract the Death Eaters and began running, but Ginny's ankle was broken in the process. Ginny regained consciousness by the time Harry was pursuing Bellatrix Lestrange, but he ignored her questions and raced past her. Following the battle, Ginny recovered in the hospital wing at Hogwarts, where Madame Pomfrey fixed her ankle on the tries. On the train ride back to London, Ginny revealed that she had left Michael, who had moved on to Cho Chang, while Ginny had moved on to Dean Thomas. Ginny spent the summer of 1996 at the Barrow with Harry, Ron and Hermione, despite having to put up with her brother Bill's new fiancée, Fleur Delacour, whom she named Flem, and strongly disliked. She had a good summer practicing Quidditch and planning to try out for the house team as a chaser. With the summer holidays coming to a close, Ginny, the trio and some of the other Weasleys took a trip to Diagon Alley, needed to purchase school supplies. While in Fred and George's new shop, Weasel Wizard Weasels, she bought her first pet, a purple pygmy puff that she named Arnold. On 1st September, she met up with Dean Thomas in the Hogwarts Express, but was interrupted by fellow Dumbledore's army member, Zachariah Smith, who attempted to get information out of her regarding what had happened that night in the Department of Mysteries. Tired of his continued questioning, she cursed him with a bad boogie hex and was seen by the new potion master Horace Slughorn. Ginny feared detention, but Slughorn was so impressed with the hex that he invited her to take lunch with him as part of a selected group of students. He hoped to collect an induct into his Slug Club. As term started, Ginny tried out for the Gryffindor Quidditch team, of which Harry had been made the captain. She excelled as a chaser and was given a spot on the roster. Following one Quidditch practice, she and Dean were caught kissing by Harry and Ron. She and Ron had a blazing argument over her kissing Dean in public, but Ginny replied that Ron only saw it as being wrong because he had never kissed anyone before. After Ron was accidentally poisoned on his birthday, Ginny visited him in the hospital wing and they seemingly forgave each other. Ginny and Dean were going through a rocky patch, and in April, they finally split up when she accused Dean of always trying to help her through the portrait door into the Gryffindor common room. In reality, Harry had been wearing his invisibility cloak and bumped into her while under the influence of Felix Felicis, but the incident finally brought an end to their already unstable relationship. Despite the breakup or because of it, Ginny was still her usual hang-around with Harry and Ron, more because of Quidditch training. She also defended Harry's use of Sectum Sempra curse against Draco Malfoy, even if he had earned him a detention that forced him to miss the last Quidditch match of the year. With Harry in detention, Ginny took the role of Seeker for the Gryffindor team for the final match against Ravenclaw. They won the match in the Quidditch Cup, and during the post-match celebrations, Ginny and Harry kissed each other for the first time. Ginny, who had never really given up on Harry, was over the moon, as he had been having feelings for her all year. Ginny and Harry started dating, although their time together was limited due to Harry's weekly detentions and Ginny's OWL reviews. On 30 June, Death Eaters were let into the school while Dumbledore and Harry were away searching for one of Voldemort's Horcruxes. Harry gave Ron and Hermione the remain of his Felix Felicis potion. On Harry's orders, Ginny also joined him in taking the potion, giving them extra luck in case they needed it. In the aftermath, Ginny was shocked to find that her brother Bill had been badly injured and permanently scarred by Fenrir Greyback. She was able to lead Harry away from Dumbledore's corpse and up to the hospital wing, where Harry broke the news that Dumbledore had been killed by Severus Snape. Ginny took her OWLs despite the tragedy that had happened in the school. She attended Dumbledore's funeral along with several others. At the funeral, she sat next to Harry, Hermione and Ron instead of sitting with the rest of her family. After the former headmaster had been laid to rest, Harry broke up with Ginny. She accepted his decision after he told her he wouldn't be able to bear it if she died and it was his fault. She called his decision an act of stupid nobility. Month later, the Order of Phoenix arranged to move Harry from the Dursleys home to the Barrow. Ginny started to worry for their safety and was only relieved to see Harry turn up at the Barrow. When George turned up with his ear cursed off, Ginny was shocked and helped her mother tend to him. Finally, as she allowed herself to be relaxed, the unexpected death of Mad-Eye Moody greatly ruined the occasion. On Harry's 17th birthday, Ginny confessed that she didn't know what to give Harry since anything she gave him would have to be small enough for him to carry around with him. Instead, she kissed him like she never did before, in the hopes of giving him something to remember her by. On first August, Ginny served as a bridesmaid at Bill and Flora's wedding. She wore a golden dress. During the reception, she danced with Luna Lovegood, Lee Jordan and the others. Harry, disguised as a member of the Weasley family, jealously warned Victor Kramov of speaking with her. When he remarked on Ginny's attractiveness, he warned her that she had a big and jealous boyfriend. In the middle of the celebration, the guests were warned by 𝐘𝐿𝐷𝐈𝐁𝐿𝐷's Patronus that the Ministry of Magic had been fallen, the Rufus Scrimgeour was dead, and that the Death Eaters were coming. As the Death Eaters stormed the wedding, Hermione apparated herself, Harry and Ron away from the place to begin their Horcruxes hunt. Ginny was seen defending herself against the Death Eater and was unable to say goodbye to Harry, and the two didn't see each other again for almost a year. Ginny was present on the Hogwarts Express on 1st September when it was raided by 3 Death Eaters in search of Harry. Once at school, Ginny joined up with Neville Longbottom and Luna Lovegood to restore the Dumbledore's army and defy Snape regime. On one occasion, they attempted to steal the Godric's Gryffindor sword from Snape's office because they had knowledge that Harry needed it, but were caught and punished. Ginny served detention with Hagrid in Forbidden Forest and was banned from all trips to Hogsmeade. When Harry, Hermione and Ron returned to Hogwarts on 1st May, they were met by Neville and the remaining of Dumbledore's army that had stood up to Snape and the Carrows. Acting on a promise to Ginny, Neville sent word to her that Harry was at the school. Ginny arrived. She was incredibly relieved to see the trio, particularly Harry. As more members of Dumbledore's army and the Order of Phoenix arrived for the battle, Mr. and Mrs. Weasley forbade their daughter to take part in the fighting since she was underage. Ginny furiously argued against it. Remus Lupin offered that Ginny would stay in the room of requirements. Although she didn't like it, she agreed. During the battle, Harry needed the room of requirement to change form into the room of hidden things. He asked Ginny to leave the room. Ginny joined the battle. She and Nefedora Tonks were later seen by Harry firing well-aimed jinxes from a high-up window into the crowd of fighters below. After the initial fighting, Lord Voldemort called a temporary truce. Ginny was shocked and heartbroken by the death of her brother Fred. That was the last thing she would want to see happening. When the seemingly lifeless body of Harry was presented, Ginny let out a terrible scream of anger and grief, and denied that was terrible to hear. However, Neville took up the sword of Gryffindor and beheaded Nagini. With the battle restarted, Ginny, Luna and Hermione dueled Bellatrix Lestrange. Bellatrix was more than a match for the three, and fired a killing curse that missed Ginny by an inch. Molly got there, and after a fantastically vicious duel, Lestrange fell to the floor, stone dead. Ginny witnessed Harry's final defeat of Lord Voldemort, and was one of the first people to run and hug him. She sat with her head on her mother's shoulder during the victory celebrations in the Great Hall. After the Wizarding War, Ginny and Harry continued their passionate romance. For several years, Ginny was part of the Quidditch team, the Holyhead Harpies. At some point, she and Harry were married and her last name became Potter. She eventually retired and the couple had a family. She gave birth to 3 children, James Sirius, Albus Severus and Lily Luna. On 1st September 2017, Harry and Ginny took their children, James and Albus, to the Hogwarts Express, where Albus would begin his first year at Hogwarts. By 2020, Ginny was the sport editor for the Daily Prophet, while her husband was promoted to the head of the Department of Magical Law Enforcement. That was all for today's video about the life of Ginny Weasley. If you want me to keep making the life of videos about other characters, please let me know in the comment section down below. Thanks for watching and I'll see you next time.